What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Live with Brandon Blakeney podcast. Of course, I'm your host, Brandon Blakeney, aka Brandon Lee TV. Back at it again with another banger, my friends. Y'all know the vibes. Kick back, relax, and come take a ride with me.
You are now locked into the Live with Brandon Blakeney podcast. Here is your host, Brandon Blakeney.
South Carolina is coming off a dominant performance, blowing the brakes, beating the brakes off of Florida in SEC play and getting their winning streak back and running. And Joyce Edwards broke a record that had been held for decades, scoring 28 points to lead the way. Now they shift their attention to another big-time matchup on this schedule against a talented Uconn squad that some feel like have underachieved and haven't truly been super battle-tested, especially through Big East play. Now, we know these teams are very familiar with one another, for sure. They've played pretty much since Dawn Staley got to South Carolina. It started out with some beatings, but it has definitely evened out over previous years. And in my opinion, man, this should be a very winnable game for South Carolina. If they do these several things, they should dominate the Huskies.
Familiarity really helps when you're playing a team in a program like Uconn. Because their actions will challenge your defense to be disciplined. And if you've played them before, you know, you aren't as amped up to make sure you're doing the right thing all the time. You're comfortable with knowing that these types of things will happen out there, and it calls for our defense to be disciplined and not have breakdowns. We got to communicate. We got to know how we're guarding certain actions for them. And when you have a seasoned group like we do, you feel good in knowing that maybe you don't get all your stuff in as far as all their actions. You'll get some of them, but you'll know where you need to be and what you need to communicate.
Of course, Paige Bueckers will be at the top of the scouting report. Now, we know the respect and the praise that Dawn Staley has shown Paige in the past. Fans and critics of her have been extremely critical of her performances, especially in big games where she's had a tendency to kind of disappear, but on top of that, hasn't really asserted herself in the same way we saw her last year. Has she lost her edge, that Mamba mentality, that killer instinct that we saw from her? We haven't seen as much, especially in big games where Uconn has lost several of them in the last season. And it's very obvious that there's a difference in the intensity. I won't say there's a lack of effort, but I don't know if it's a confidence thing, but Paige Bueckers has not been the same player that she was on that Final Four run. But maybe March will inspire something, as well as potentially this game, because I feel like right now, for Uconn to solidify a top 2 seed, this is a must-win game right now for confidence, for preparation, and just being battle-tested. This is the last tough test they'll see. They lost to Tennessee, and now they got the juggernaut in South Carolina. South Carolina, though, we've seen how dominant and ferocious and just mean that they've been on the court after a loss, man. And I don't mean that I mean that in the most respectful way, man. They came out and played angry against Florida. You could tell the intensity was turned up. They lost to UCLA earlier in the season, won 17 straight. They dropped one to Texas and then beat the brakes off of a very overwhelmed, I'll say respectfully, Florida team, man. But for South Carolina, Joyce Edwards has been the one, will be the one, should continue to be the one. And I think she could be the difference in this game for South Carolina down low. I don't think, truthfully, Uconn has an answer for her. It's not Jenna Alfie. It's not Sarah Strong, in my opinion. Even though these two freshmen are very familiar with each other and have battled it out on the high school ranks, Joyce Edwards, though, showed the complete game last time out. The mid-range is there. Getting it off the dribble, taking defenders to the cup, off the bounce, it's there. Her ability to just establish her dominance down low, finishing around the perimeter, finishing around the cup, just staying with it, to be honest with y'all, man. Her motor, her work ethic is unmatched, and we're seeing that she has progressed tremendously over the last 2 months, and those Asia Wilson comparisons are very well deserved right now because she's ahead of Asia Wilson in her freshman year. And Dawn Staley has come out and said she thinks she will be the best player in college basketball. And I'm right there with you on the Joyce Edwards hype train. I don't think UConn's going to have an answer for her. Her mobility, being able to get up and down the court, her length, her athletic ability, just her being a tenacious defender as well, guarding multiple positions. I think they're going to get down low, get the ball into the paint, get her touches early, and let her go to work, man. This UConn front court, they're bigger than last year, but they're no match for South Carolina. And it doesn't have to be all Joyce Edwards. I do think she will be a prominent force in this game. I think she's the X factor, getting her touches early, building her confidence early, getting her established early in this game with the entry passes, getting it down low, letting her get her back to the basket, letting her face these defenders one-on-one and go to work down low. I think it's going to be major, man. Obviously, Chloe Kitts will have something to say in this game. Sanaya Fagan has been a lot better since Dawn Staley threatened to bench the senior. So this front court, I think they're going to play through this front court like we've seen them in past games. That seems to be the recipe. When Joyce goes off, good things happen for this team. When Sanaya Fagan's out there blocking shots, getting rebounds, dropping dimes, Chloe Kitts is aggressive, hunting for her shot. That's what you want to see. In the backcourt, I'm excited to see Malaysia Fulwiley take it on against KK Arnold. I think these two off the bench will be X factors for both of their squad. Malaysia Fulwiley has been instant offense. Nobody's really had an answer for her. She scored in double digits in like the last 4 games. Maybe dating back even further than that. Like she's really hit her stride scoring the basketball. Tahina Powell backing her back, shooting the rock. Raven Johnson, I'm assuming, will be tasked with chasing around Paige Bueckers, along with Fulwiley, along with Breezy Hall, who has been really handling the top perimeter threat for the most part for majority of South Carolina's games. But I think they got to come out, punch UConn in the mouth early, often, stay aggressive on the glass, get those defensive rebounds, limit UConn to 1 shot per possession, and get out in transition, force turnovers, put pressure on Caitlin Chin, put pressure on Ashlyn Shade, these ball handlers of UConn, make them work for every possession, shrink the court on them, limit ball movement, and force them to make turnovers, and just trap that pick and roll, hedge, switch if you got to, and definitely just staying aggressive. I think if they execute, take care of the basketball, stay aggressive and get those paint touches like they've been doing, getting to the free throw line, shooting 20-plus free throws in the last several games. They make their free throws, they make their three-pointers. Tina Powell comes out shooting. Breezy Hall, Maddie McDaniel could play some valuable minutes as well. Tessa Johnson, I think, could have a breakout game in this contest with her shooting ability as well and her defense on versatility. They guard, force turnovers, limit Sarah Strong or Paige Bueckers. You probably aren't stopping both of them, but make things difficult for Sarah Strong. Make her catch it out high in the post. Don't let her bury you and establish deep position down low. Limit the transition, slow them down, make them play a half court. South Carolina is really tough in team defenses. Teams have had success in ISO against them, but as far as letting them set their defense in half court situations, they've been a very good defensive team as a team. Defending the basketball and just shrinking the court, blocking shots as well, and making teams settle for tough contested shots. Limit Paige Bueckers, definitely be physical with her, keep a body on her, attached to her, deny her of the catch. We know Sarah Strong as well as Paige Bueckers have carried this team. AZ Fudd, though, coming off of 34 points, could be a big X factor for UConn, and we'll get into that. But those are my keys to victory for South Carolina, man. Just getting it down low early, starting strong, owning the glass, guarding as a team, forcing turnovers, and limiting UConn stars. I think South Carolina could possibly win this game by double digits, and it would be a big win for Dawn Staley. Anytime they can beat Gina Auriemma and UConn, they will happily take that dub. Y'all let me know how y'all feel, though. These are some mega matchups. This is going to be must-watch TV. Hoping we get an instant classic, and it's a thriller, man. Both teams have a lot on the line right now as they try to, solidify themselves in the national picture. And with UCLA's loss, it feels like women's college basketball, the championship is wide open. March is going to be insane. Y'all let me know how y'all feel in the comments, though. That's a wrap for us. For all the latest and the greatest, I am Brandon Blakeney, a.k.a. Brandon Lee TV. This is the Live with Brandon Blakeney podcast. Make sure y'all hit that subscribe button, comment, like, share, all that good stuff. Follow us on social media at Brandon Lee TV. Until next time, we out.